What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some acid trance, and indeed, we're back with a Noom Records tune, though it's admittedly a Noom Records tune that it's not usually at the top of my thought process when I think of Noom. It's not usually at the top of my stacks when I'm going to mix an old school acid trance set. But I was thinking about this tune a couple days ago, and I was like, you know what, that's a really interesting, long, and sort of evolving, adventurous tune. I thought it'd be a good one to react to, even if I haven't used it in my sets as much as some others. So this is a tune, Noom 22. The name on the record is Jim Clarke. Now I can tell you this is misleading. There's like 3 or 4 or even 5 or 6 people involved in this release, and I say maybe 5 or 6 because the tune we're going to listen to, Paraguay, it says featuring Paco Rodriguez and Miguel Torres on percussion. Now, Jim Clarke, it's like the B side is written by 2 or 3 different people. The A side, Paraguay, it's written by Thorsten Stenzel. Now, again, the name for the release overall is Jim Clarke, but this is not a real person. This is just a project that was done by a few different people. And again, different variations of this group worked on these different tunes. So, Paraguay, the one we're going to listen to, it's by Thorsten Stenzel with Paco Rodriguez and Miguel Torres on percussion. It's an 11.5-minute tune, so I'm going to get right to it. This is from 1996. So here we go, Jim Clarke, Paraguay, on the Second Life EP, Noom 22, 1996. If you can't hear it yet, there's this barely there pulse. And life support is barely registering a pulse. Growing. Try to refrain from pausing because the tune is so long. The video is already going to be like 15 minutes. So, cool tune to start a mix with. But as you'll see, the first third and the last third of this tune are very similar. The middle third is something else entirely. Pulse that expanded in the beginning. Now with everything else around it, it has like a different sort of sound now that it's integrated. It's also a livelier sound just by volume and intensity. Tapping on a trash can like a rhythm. Acid fish out of water. gurgly, the high percussion is nice and smooth. It's like a deeper layer, deeper acid layer too. So now, join me if you will. Presumably this is the percussion that Paco Rodriguez and Miguel Torres were involved with. Presumably they're Paraguayan? Not sure, but this tune just becomes something else for the next 5 minutes until we eventually get back to basically where we just were, but with sort of a little bit of the taste of the melody we're about to experience. We still got 2 or 3 minutes to go in this crazy unfolding melodic breakdown. So it's makes it hardcore, not hardcore, storming hard acid trance, indoor style. You can't really play this. And even if you're mixing an outdoor acid trance set with a little more atmosphere, emotion, whatever, this is a long sort of ambiguous pause in your set. Now, admittedly, the pad coming in here and sort of the overall melodic vibe that it gives, if we went straight into that from the sort of rocking, groovy acid trance that we were doing, I might feel differently, but again, it's a long, eccentric part in the middle of an acid trance tune. I don't mind it. I bought the record, obviously. I'm just trying to understand to myself why I haven't used it nearly as much as most of the other Noom records I have, whether by Chorus or somebody else. Nostrum, or on Noom, Nostrum was called Nostradamus. Injection, Onyx, Axis. No, Veto. Cinematic, you could use this with hybrid or 3-in-1, or not 3-in-1, we did the Cafe Del Mar, Energy 52, when you hear the pulse coming back. First hint that we might find our way back to where we were is that pulse coming back. Not my favorite on Noom, but don't remember this part specifically. Oh, okay, I do remember this now. I didn't remember the acid getting a little more prominent right before that, though. This could go well with, like, Hollow Sweet or some of the stuff from the Noom Nuclear High double LP. I might get the Hollow Sweet sometime soon. It's a cool tune. No acid, really. I think it's just hard trance. Slightly more like a little edgier here. And that's sort of doubling like that acid groove, right? Where it's like I mean honestly, for me, like if you condensed the middle part like just a minute shorter or something, like I think this tune might be an all-time classic for me, but like I don't think it's ever made it into that category because the middle part is such like it's such a weird thing to deal with. Let me know if you disagree though. Let me know if you really like that middle part, ambient, percussive, down-tempo part. This is fucking great. But it's rattling at the same time. It's a crazy layer. It's like the Predator. Like if the Predator was beatboxing. Ridiculous statement, but a great tune. Like I said, I may not have used it as much. I may have qualms about that extra long, center of the tune, sort of unusual ambient breakdown. But I enjoyed that more than I thought I might when I put it on. I really do think that's a fantastic tune. And again, if you just kind of condense the first part, I mean, I wonder, like, I think one of the times I used it, I used the first part and mixed out, like, leading into that breakdown. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe as a first tune of the set, you can get away with that, especially if it's an outdoor set. Maybe as the last tune of the set, it could function pretty well too. But again, it's just that middle part, I think, takes the energy down so notably that, if you have the audience grooving and they're really enjoying it, which again, the first third of that, it really is a nice groovy, acid-laced, hard trance tune. But then when you suck out the energy for, what was it, like 2.5, 3 minutes, something like that, it just feels like, inevitably there might be some people kind of wander off, or if it's a mixtape or a mix on SoundCloud, you might, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. It just feels like the energy comes down a little too much. But that aside, I really do enjoy that tune, especially, again, the first and the third thirds. So yeah, let me know if you have that record yourself. Let me know if, again, you actually don't mind that middle part, you think it works, or, part of the larger artistic statement, larger story. Yeah, so for me, I'm going to give it a solid, like, A, but I'm going to say it maybe doesn't crack into the A+ territory where I'm talking about it on the same level as, like, the Matabu EP by Cores, or, Ab Chic by Nexus 6, just because it has that part that doesn't quite satisfy me either, like, artistically or as a DJ, because again, I feel like as a DJ it lets the energy drop too much, and as a work of art, I feel like there's extra pages in the story. Like, it could just be like a few pages shorter. I'm an editor, both like for my own material, but I've edited for other people as well, and there's a question of, like, sometimes people like really want to drive home a point at the end of a story, and you have to kind of like, yeah, it's working, just a little bit less. But yeah, like I said, let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you really think the whole thing works. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to react to the other two tunes. This was really the track that I bought this record for. May have to work it into one of my sets on my acid trance sessions now that I've sort of remembered it, and it's freshly in my mind. So maybe the next acid trance sessions you might hear that. But let me know if you enjoy it. Other than that, have a good day, have a good night. I'll see you next time. Peace.